Man up. Don't be weak. My father mocked while shielding my brother's explosive rage, until I was attacked, the truth surfaced, police reports followed, and the golden boy's untouchable image finally began to crumble publicly. I grew up in a house where appearances mattered more than reality. My dad owned a decent-sized real estate company in town, and my mom's entire personality was built around charity luncheons, church committees, and making sure people thought we were the perfect family. From the outside, we looked like one of those polished, smiling postcard families. Inside, it was basically a hostage situation, except the hostage was everyone walking on eggshells around my older brother, Shane. Shane is 3 years older than me. Since I was a kid, he's been the golden boy. To my parents, Shane was destined to take over the business, carry the last name like some kind of dynasty, and be the shining example of what my dad built. Me, I was the accessory, the second son. The one they'd brag about if it made Shane look better by comparison, but never the one in the spotlight. The thing about Shane was that even when he was a teenager, he had this anger inside him that could go from zero to demolition derby in about 2 seconds flat. I remember one time he didn't like how his Xbox controller batteries were dead. Instead of, replacing the batteries like a normal person, he launched the controller at the wall so hard it left a crack in the drywall. Dad made a joke about quarterback's arms instead of addressing the fact his son was basically foaming at the mouth over Halo. Another time, Shane shoved me into the closet door because I had the audacity to tell him the answer to a math problem when Mom asked me. I wasn't trying to show him up, I just knew it. Shane's reaction was to send me flying. Mom's reaction, don't provoke your brother, as if my existence was me asking to get slammed. And that was the pattern. Shane would break something, scream, or take a swing at me. The parents would step in, not to discipline him, but to tell me to just stay out of his way. I swear it was like watching someone get a get-out-of-jail-free card. Every time he snapped, meanwhile, I'd get grounded if I so much as rolled my eyes. The favoritism wasn't subtle either. Shane barely scraped through high school with C's, but Dad still threw him a graduation party that looked like a wedding reception. When I graduated with honors, we had a family dinner at Applebee's, and half the conversation was still about Shane's summer internship. You want to know how to feel invisible? That's how. By the time Shane was in his late teens, he wasn't just angry, he was unpredictable. He'd punch walls when he didn't get his way, slam doors so hard the hinges bent, and glare at you like you owed him an apology for breathing. And instead of calling it what it was, abusive behavior, my parents labeled it as passion or strong emotions. Dad loved to spin it as some kind of leadership trait. He's got fire in him. That's what makes great men. Yeah, sure. Nothing screams great man like screaming at your little brother because you lost in Madden. The worst part, the fear wasn't just mine. My parents were scared of him too. I could see it in the way my mom's voice would drop when Shane stomped up the stairs or how Dad would go quiet if Shane's temper started rising at the dinner table. They acted like they had control, but really they were just as much on edge as I was. The difference is, they still worshipped him. They had built this fantasy where Shane was untouchable. So instead of dealing with him, they made everyone else adjust. Meanwhile, I was busting my ass trying to stand out in school. Straight A's, honors classes, sports, you name it, I tried it. I figured if I stacked enough achievements, maybe they'd notice me. Spoiler, they didn't. Every accomplishment of mine turned into a comparison that made Shane look worse. So they brushed mine under the rug. Looking back, it's kind of insane how normalized it all became. If any of my friends had shoved their sibling into a wall, their parents would have lost their minds. For me, it was Tuesday. My friends who came over even noticed it. One guy asked me once, "Dude, why does your brother act like a drill sergeant?" I didn't even know how to answer because at that point it felt normal. Here's the thing though, even back then, even when I was younger and smaller, I didn't fear him the way my parents did. Yeah, it sucked getting shoved or dealing with his temper, but I wasn't going to cower. I'd talk back, throw sarcasm at him, remind him he wasn't as scary as he thought. Half the reason he hated me so much was probably because I didn't play the submissive little brother role. I think he could smell that defiance and it pissed him off.
So that was my childhood in a nutshell. A family photo that looked perfect from the outside.
But inside it was a kingdom ruled by my brother's anger with my parents as his loyal servants. Me, I was just the guy stuck in the background waiting for the day I could get the hell out and prove I wasn't just Shane's punching bag. And trust me, I did get out. But the thing about families like this is they never really let you go. I enrolled in medical school, and it was the first time I realized not every family worked like mine. My roommates had their own drama, sure, but None of them were hiding bruises or making excuses for an older brother with a short fuse. After med school and residency, I stayed gone for a while, moving between cities and jobs. It felt good. Nobody knew me as Shane's little brother. Nobody expected me to just be backup. But reality has a way of dragging you back. Loans, rent, cost of living, yeah, they add up quick. So when a solid job opportunity opened up back in Florida, I took it. Good pay, good benefits, steady hours. The kind of thing that makes you feel like you're finally building something. Still, I knew what coming back meant. The family spotlight was going to find me whether I wanted it or not, and sure enough, as soon as they found out I was back in town, Mom was on me like it was Christmas morning. We have to do a welcome dinner, which in our house translated to, we're going to spend 2 hours talking about Shane while pretending to care that you exist. I went anyway. Curiosity, maybe. Or maybe a part of me wanted to see if anything had changed now that I was older, out of school, standing on my own 2 feet. Spoiler? Nope. The second I walked in, Shane was already holding court at the table. He had that smirk he always wore when he was telling a story where he's the hero. Dad was hanging on every word, laughing way too hard at jokes that weren't funny. Mom was cutting Shane's steak into smaller bites like he was still 10 years old. Meanwhile, I sat down and barely got a, "So, how was the drive?" Dinner rolled on and I couldn't get a single word in. Every time I tried, it was shut down. I mentioned the hospital I was working for and Mom immediately pivoted to, "That's nice, but Shane just signed a huge client." Dad jumped in with, "Yeah, Shane's been really stepping up at the firm." It was like a tag team match where the ref never let me throw a punch. So, being me, I leaned into sarcasm. That's my weapon of choice. When Shane started bragging about his strategic thinking on some deal, I casually asked if by strategic thinking he meant yelling at interns until they cried. I wasn't even being mean, just tossing out a jab. But Shane, he took it like I slapped him. His whole face changed like a storm cloud rolling in. "You think you're funny?" he snapped. "I mean funnier than you," I shot back deadpan. That was it. He slammed his hand on the table so hard the silverware rattled, then shoved his chair back and stood up like he was about to deliver a WWE promo. My mom gasped like she'd seen a ghost. Dad froze, eyes wide. Shane grabbed his glass of water, hurled it at the wall, and it shattered into pieces. The room went dead silent. And me? I just sat there calm as ever, watching him like I was observing a zoo animal having a tantrum. "You done, champ?" I asked, leaning back in my chair. "Or are you going to start flipping tables, too?" That only made him angrier. His fists clenched, his face red, but he didn't swing. Maybe because I wasn't the scrawny kid anymore. Maybe because deep down he knew if he touched me this time, it wasn't going to be brushed off like when we were teenagers. Either way, he stormed out of the room, stomping up the stairs like a toddler denied ice cream. I turned to my parents. "So, still think he's leadership material? You'd think that would have been the wake-up call? Nope." Mom immediately started cleaning up the glass like it was no big deal. Dad sighed, shook his head, and said, "He's just under a lot of pressure right now." Pressure, right? Because pressure explains throwing glass at the wall like a lunatic. Then came the kicker after about 10 minutes of awkward silence. My dad cleared his throat and said, "Listen, son, Shane's been handling a lot at the company. Maybe you could step in and help him with some of the projects just to ease the load." I couldn't believe it. The guy just had a meltdown that would get anyone else fired, and instead of consequences, he gets reinforcements from me. I laughed, couldn't help it, a real sharp laugh that made both of them frown. "So, let me get this straight," I said. "He throws a tantrum, trashes your dining room, storms out, and your solution is to ask me to cover his work." Dad gave me that stern look he always used when he thought he was being fatherly. It would mean a lot to the family. I shook my head. "Nah, I've got my own job, thanks. Maybe Shane can try not breaking glass long enough to finish his spreadsheets." That silence afterward. Priceless. They weren't used to me standing my ground like that. They were used to the quiet kid who swallowed it down, kept peace, let Shane shine. Not the version of me who walked away from their circus for years and learned what self-respect looked like. That night ended with me finishing my plate while my parents avoided eye contact. Shane stayed upstairs, probably punching pillows or whatever he does to burn off rage. And me? I left with one thought cemented in my head. Nothing had changed. Shane was still the ticking time bomb. My parents were still his loyal defenders, and I was still expected to play the background character. A couple weeks later, I got the invite. Family dinner at the house. Not just any dinner. This one was a full-on production for Shane's big promotion, Vice President of Operations at Dad's company. Yeah, you read that right. Guy who can't control himself long enough to eat a steak without smashing something is now second in command. Makes sense, right? Mom was buzzing about it like it was the royal wedding. She spent days planning, cooking, decorating. She even had a cheesy banner in the dining room that said, "Congrats, Shane," like he was graduating kindergarten instead of just sliding into a role everyone knew was gift-wrapped by Dad. I showed up early because despite everything, I didn't want to give them ammo to say I was being difficult. Picked up a gift too. Shane's favorite expensive bottle of whiskey, which looking back was basically me supplying ammo to a ticking time bomb, but whatever. I just wanted the night to go smooth. Dinner started out normal enough. Dad popped some overpriced wine. Mom pulled out her famous beef Wellington, and Shane sat at the head of the table, soaking up compliments like he was some war hero. He was already 2 glasses deep into the whiskey I brought him, bragging about his new office like he just became president of the United States. To Shane, Dad toasted, following in my footsteps, exceeding expectations. We all clinked glasses. I raised mine and said, "Congrats, man, company's lucky to have you." I heard the Harborview project clients were impressed. I meant it too, just being polite. Shane smirked. Damn right they were. I saved that thing after Jackson almost tanked it. Everyone chuckled. Whatever, we moved on. Then his girlfriend River came up in conversation. He started going on about how they were talking about moving in together. Mom got that tight smile on her face. She's traditional like that. But I chimed in trying to be supportive. That's great. I ran into River at the store last week. She mentioned something about your dad's fishing boat needing repairs before summer. She seems really nice. That was it. That was the comment that lit the fuse. Shane's face changed instantly. When did you talk to River? At the grocery store, I repeated. We just chatted a few minutes. What else did she say? His tone got sharp. Nothing. Just small talk, I said, confused. She should keep her mouth shut about my family, he snapped. The whole table froze. Mom stared at her plate. Dad cleared his throat. I tried to diffuse it. Shane, she didn't say anything bad, just conversation. But he was off. Last month she said our family was intense after Sunday dinner, like her family's perfect with their alcoholic uncle and shoplifting sister. His voice was rising, face turning red.
Mom tried to smooth it over, but Shane wasn't listening.
And now she's talking to you behind my back. Always so perfect, huh? Doctor, good son. Everyone's favorite. I almost laughed at that. Favorite? Yeah, sure. But I knew better than to poke the bear. I just said calmly, Shane, you're misunderstanding. Don't tell me what I understand. He slammed his glass down, whiskey spilling across the tablecloth. Mom flinched. Dad tried to step in. Son, let's dial it back. Shane shoved his chair back and stormed into the kitchen. I used helping with dishes as an excuse to follow, thinking maybe I could talk him down. Bad move. He was in there pouring another drink, eyes bloodshot. You always do this, he said, spinning around, acting innocent, stirring trouble. I wasn't stirring anything, I told him. I like River. I wasn't digging for dirt. Keep your nose out of my relationship, he barked. Stop trying to buddy up to her. That's not what happened, I said, staying calm. Because you've always been jealous of me, he shot back. Dad's company, Mom's attention, everything. You can't stand that I'm successful while you're still paying off loans. That's when I laughed. Couldn't help it. The sheer upside-down logic of it all. Are you serious right now? That laugh was the spark to the gas can. His face twisted with rage. Don't you dare laugh at me. Before I could react, he lunged at me and slammed me straight into the granite counter. The impact knocked the wind out of me, and I felt something deep in my side crack like dry wood. Pain tore through my chest, sharp and unforgiving, dropping me to the floor while I tried to suck in air that just wouldn't come. Mom and Dad came running in. Mom screamed when she saw me on the ground. Dad froze in the doorway. He fell, Shane said immediately. He tripped. I could barely breathe, but I forced out. He pushed me. Hit the counter. Mom's face flickered, concern mixed with calculation. I'm sure it was an accident. He didn't mean to. I need a hospital, I gasped. Let's not overreact, Dad said. Take ibuprofen, rest. If it's bad tomorrow, we'll reassess. Unbelievable. I looked right at them. I'm a doctor. These are broken ribs. I know what this feels like. Mom put a hand on my arm. Let me drive you. No, I'll drive myself, I said. I just needed out of that house. Dad helped me up, his face like stone. Family disagreements happen. Let's not make more of this than it is. I grabbed my keys, one hand clutched tight against my ribs, and started heading for the door. Every step felt like glass splinters were grinding into my chest. But I wasn't about to stay in that house another minute. I needed out. That's when I heard the footsteps behind me. Mom and Dad right on my heels like cleanup crew after one of Shane's meltdowns. "You're in no shape to drive," Dad said, stepping in front of the door. His voice wasn't concern, it was command, the same tone he used when barking at contractors. He squared his shoulders like he was daring me to challenge him. "Sit down, rest, take some pills. You'll feel better in the morning." Mom slid in behind him, her voice soft, the opposite tactic. "Sweetheart, don't make this worse, you're hurt." "Yes, but Shane didn't mean it. He's under so much pressure with the promotion. Let's not ruin his future over one mistake." There it was, the family playbook. Dad using intimidation, Mom using guilt, protect Shane, shame me. Same old script I'd heard since I was a kid, just with bigger stakes. I adjusted my grip on the keys, biting back a groan as my ribs protested, and stared my dad down. "No, I'm not popping ibuprofen and pretending my ribs aren't broken." Shane put his hands on me. He slammed me into a counter. "That's not a mistake. That's assault." "Going to a doctor, and I'm telling the truth." Dad's jaw tightened. "You really want to drag your brother's name through the mud after everything this family has given you?" That line almost made me laugh. "Given me? You gave Shane everything. All I got was a front row seat to his tantrums. If you're so worried about his future, maybe tell him to stop breaking bones and throwing fits at the dinner table." Mom's eyes welled up, her last weapon. "Please don't do this, you'll tear the family apart." I pulled the door open with my shoulder and looked right at her. The family was already torn apart. You just ignored it. Then I walked out. The drive was brutal. Every bump in the road was like a hammer slamming into my ribs. My hands were shaking on the wheel, sweat soaking through my shirt, but I forced myself to focus, inching toward the urgent care attached to the hospital. A weaker version of me might have turned around and gone home, swallowed the pills, and pretended. Not this time. The clinic receptionist noticed immediately. I was hunched, pale, wincing with every step. "We'll get you in right away," she said. And for the first time in 24 hours, someone actually looked at me like I was the injured one. Not Shane, not Dad's reputation. Me. Dr. Hayes walked in a few minutes later. "Tell me what happened," she asked, looking me dead in the face. "My brother slammed me into a counter," I said. "3 ribs feel broken." She didn't flinch, just nodded, wrote it down, and ordered X-rays. Waiting for those results felt like hours, even though it was probably 20 minutes. When she came back in, her face was serious. 3 fractures, she confirmed. 1 is displaced, which explains your breathing trouble. You'll need rest, medication, and close monitoring. Then she set the chart down and looked me in the eye. "I need to be upfront with you. What you've described is assault. I strongly recommend reporting it, and I can document everything. If you want, I'll call the police here and connect you with a social worker. It's your choice, but the record will support you if you move forward. If I stayed quiet again, nothing would change. Shane would keep winning." "Do it," I told her. My voice was steady, even with the fire in my chest. "Report it." She gave me a firm nod. "You're making the right call, not the easy one, but the right one." Something shifted in me right then. This wasn't just a trip to the doctor anymore. This was a line in the sand. For the first time in my life, I wasn't protecting Shane. I wasn't shielding Mom and Dad's precious image. I was protecting myself. On the drive home, painkillers dulling the edges, I realized the full weight of what just happened. Shane wasn't just my problem anymore. Now it was on record. The cops were going to hear about it. The system was involved. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like the weak little brother. I felt like the guy who finally called the bluff. This was the turning point. And deep down, I knew once this train started rolling, there was no stopping it. Didn't take long for the fallout to start. The very next morning, my phone lit up before I'd even finished my coffee. First it was Mom, 3 missed calls. Then a text, "We need to talk. Please answer. Don't make this worse." Then Dad, straight to voicemail. But his message was short and sharp. "Call me back. Immediately." I didn't. Instead, I sat there, ribs aching, sipping my coffee with one hand and watching the panic unfold in real time. By noon, the real fireworks started. Dad finally got me on the line after about the 15th call. His voice was low and deliberate, like he thought speaking calmly would hypnotize me into obedience. "What the hell have you done?" he said. "I went to a doctor," I answered, like any sane person with 3 broken ribs would. "You let them file a report," he snapped. "Do you have any idea what this does to Shane, to our family's reputation?" I leaned back in my chair, careful not to aggravate the bruising. Maybe Shane should have thought about that before slamming me into a countertop. That's when the mask dropped. His voice turned into a growl.
"Tearing this family apart."
There it was, the classic line. Always blame the one who refuses to stay silent. Never the one who caused the damage. Mom called right after, sobbing into the phone. "Honey, please. This could cost your brother everything, his promotion, his career. Do you really want that on your conscience?"
Yeah, Mom, I said flatly.
Turns out I care more about my lungs not being punctured than Shane's corner office. She tried another tactic, bribery. "We'll make it right. Your father and I will cover some of your loans. We'll get you a new car. Just tell the police it was a misunderstanding. Say you slipped, please, for me." I couldn't help but laugh, which hurt like hell. So now my silence has a price tag. Nice to know what I'm worth in this family. That set her off crying harder, and I hung up. By that evening, Shane himself finally chimed in. Text after text, all caps, half of it incoherent rage. "You're dead to me. Hope you're happy, jealous loser. You think this will stick? Everyone knows you're crazy." Then the threats started, not direct but veiled. "Watch your back. Accidents happen. Don't forget whose town this is." Classic Shane. And like clockwork, he went nuclear at my job too. By Monday, my boss pulled me aside, looking uncomfortable. "Hey, just a heads up. Your brother came by the office." Of course he did. He was saying some pretty harsh things, that you're unstable, jealous of his success, making up stories to hurt him. I told him this wasn't the place, but security had to escort him out and HR logged the incident. I just smirked. "Don't worry, I've got documentation, medical records, police reports. Shane's temper isn't exactly a secret." He nodded, but I could tell he was uncomfortable. That's what Shane did best. Poison the well before you even got a chance to speak. And if that wasn't enough, the extended family piled on like it was a sport. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all blowing up my phone with the same recycled lines. "Why are you doing this to your brother? Families stick together. Don't you realize how much this hurts your parents?" Not one person asked how I was. Not one person asked what it felt like to be the guy with broken ribs. They only cared about the Golden Boy's throne. Well, almost no one. My friend Mark, the same one who told me straight up it was assault, checked in every day. "Don't fold," he said. "This is how they keep people like Shane untouchable. They bank on you giving in." And then there was Aunt Lisa. She's been estranged from the family for years, partly because she never played by Dad's rules. She called me out of nowhere, voice sharp but supportive. "Good for you," she said. "Took guts to finally stand up. Your parents have covered for that boy since he was 15. Someone needed to pull the plug." Hearing that was like a lifeline. At least someone in the bloodline hadn't lost their mind. The barrage from the rest of them, though, was relentless. Cousin Rachel texted me an essay about how I was fueling gossip that could destroy the family name. Uncle Tom sent me a voicemail rant about loyalty. I swear it was like I'd kicked a hornet's nest and all the drones came flying out to defend the queen bee. Except in this case, the queen was my rage-addicted brother. But here's the thing. Instead of making me second-guess myself, all of it just made the picture clearer. Every single call, text, and lecture proved what I'd suspected my whole life. The entire family system was built to protect Shane at all costs. Didn't matter how many people he hurt. Didn't matter that he broke bones. The rest of us were just props in the Shane show, and I was done playing the background character. So when Mom texted again that night, "We can still fix this if you just cooperate," I didn't even bother replying. I blocked her number, then Dad's, then Shane's. I left one line open, the police. If they needed me, they'd get me. Everyone else they could. Scream into the void, because for the first time in years the noise wasn't getting to me. I knew the truth. I had the proof. And for once, Shane wasn't in control of the narrative. The system was cracking, and this time I wasn't the one who was going to break. For days, the silence after I blocked most of the family was almost eerie. No more guilt trips from Mom, no more intimidation speeches from Dad. Just peace and my ribs healing slowly. Then on the third night, a text popped up from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, it's River, Shane's girlfriend. Can we talk?" I stared at it for a long time. River reaching out was the last thing I expected. She'd always played the role of the supportive partner when I saw her at family dinners. Smiled, laughed at Shane's lame jokes. looked the part of the loyal girlfriend. But clearly something was off if she was messaging me now. I called her. She answered on the first ring, voice low like she was afraid Shane might hear her through the walls. "Thank you for picking up," she said. "I know this is weird, but I don't know who else to talk to."
What's going on?
I asked carefully. There was a pause. Then she dropped it. "Shane hit me once a month ago. For a second I didn't say anything. Part of me wasn't even surprised. The guy who thought throwing furniture was a personality trait. Of course it escalated." "When?" I asked. "Back in March," she said quietly. "We were arguing about something stupid. He snapped, shoved me against the wall, and slapped me. I wanted to leave, but I was scared. And your parents told me he didn't mean it, that he just had a temper. They convinced me to keep quiet. There it was, the same script, recycled. Mom and Dad running defense for their golden boy, covering up violence, spinning it as distress. I leaned back, biting down a surge of anger. "So why tell me now?" "Because I heard what he did to you," she said. "And now it's public. It's not just me anymore. If I stay silent, I'm part of it." That right there was the crack widening. For years, Shane had everyone scared into silence. But now, someone else was ready to speak up. We met the next day at a coffee shop across town. She showed up in sunglasses and a hoodie like she was hiding from paparazzi. She slid into the booth and pulled out her phone. "I kept screenshots," she said. "Texts from Shane that were straight out of an abuser's playbook. You make me do this. If you weren't so mouthy, I wouldn't lose it. Don't tell anyone or you'll regret it." My stomach turned, but at the same time I felt a cold satisfaction. Proof, not just my word versus his. This was evidence. "You realize what this means," I told her. "If you're willing to come forward, we can build a case. It's not just my ribs anymore. It's a pattern." Her hands trembled as she wrapped them around her coffee cup. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Shane will lose it if he finds out." I nodded. "Yeah, he probably will. But here's the thing. He's not untouchable anymore. He's already on record for what he did to me. If you back me up, it's not just a family squabble. It's assault. Multiple counts. They can't sweep that under the rug." For the first time since I'd known her, River smiled. Not big, but enough to show she was tired of being scared. "Then I'll do it. I'll back you up." Over the next week, we met twice more. She gave me everything she had. Texts, dates, even a photo she'd taken of her swollen cheek the night it happened. She'd hidden it in a folder on her phone, never shown anyone. Seeing that picture made my blood boil. I passed it all to the detective handling my case. His eyebrows shot up. "This changes things," he said. "With her testimony and yours, we're looking at a pattern of abuse, not just one incident." Translation: Shane wasn't just in trouble, he was in deep. Meanwhile, word must have leaked back to the family because Mom showed up at my apartment unannounced. I opened the door and there she was with her pity face on full display. "Honey, please," she said, stepping inside before I even invited her. "We can still fix this. River is confused. She's emotional. Don't let her drag you into her mess." I folded my arms, ignoring the stab of pain from my ribs. "Her mess?" "He hit her, same way he hit me. You're just mad she's not playing along like you wanted me to." Her mask cracked for a second, but then she went right back to guilt mode. "Families don't do this. Families don't destroy each other. Families also don't cover for abusers," I shot back, "but here we are." She didn't have an answer to that. Just left in silence, slamming the door on her way out. By the end of that week, I got the call. Shane had been brought in for questioning, assault charges, the official kind with paperwork that doesn't just vanish because Dad knows a guy at the country club. For once, the golden boy's shine was starting to fade. And me, broken ribs or not, I'd never felt stronger. The system was no longer protecting him. The system was finally protecting us. Shane getting pulled in for questioning was like tossing a grenade into the carefully curated image my parents had been building for decades. Their golden boy, the heir to Dad's company, the one who could do no wrong, sitting across from detectives while they read him his rights. I wish I could have seen his face when reality finally caught up. News traveled fast. Within 2 days, half the extended family went radio silent. The same aunts and uncles who'd flooded my phone with guilt trips were suddenly too busy to call. Funny how loyalty dries up when it's not convenient. Mom and Dad, though, they doubled down. I got another visit, this time with both of them standing in my doorway like lawyers rehearsing their defense. "You've humiliated this family," Dad said flatly. His voice had that cold edge, the one he usually saved for chewing out employees. No, I corrected, leaning against the doorframe. Shane humiliated this family. I just stopped covering for him. Mom tried the softer approach again. Honey, you've always been so strong, so independent. Don't let bitterness ruin you. Shane needs help, not punishment. I smirked. Help? He's had help his whole life. Help escaping consequences. Help being shielded every time he lashed out.
This isn't punishment, this is accountability.
Dad's jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. He knew I was right. He just hated hearing it out loud. Meanwhile, River followed through. She sat down with detectives, handed over her screenshots, and showed them the photo she'd kept hidden. The bruised cheek, the text messages blaming her. It wasn't just my word anymore, it was a pattern, a clear, ugly one, and the case snowballed. What started as family drama became something much bigger. Shane was arrested, officially charged with multiple counts of assault. The mugshot hit the local paper. Seeing the Golden Boy's face plastered there with assault charges in bold letters, I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel like justice. Of course, Mom tried to spin it. He's under stress. The media is exaggerating. This isn't who he really is.
But the truth was out. It was who he really was.
And for once, no amount of spin could hide it. The fallout hit Dad's business too. Clients started asking questions. A few quietly backed out of deals. Turns out family reputation matters a lot when your VP is on trial for beating his brother and his girlfriend. Dad scrambled to do damage control, but the whispers were everywhere. For a man obsessed with appearances, it was a nightmare. Extended family stopped calling me altogether. No apologies, no you were right, just silence. Cowards. And Shane, he tried to reach out from jail, letters through Mom, a couple past messages. All the same garbage, this is your fault. You betrayed me. Not once did he say sorry, not once did he own it. But that's Shane. He never had to own anything because Mom and Dad always cleaned up his mess. Not this time. The best part, watching River finally step out of the shadow. She left him for good, got her own place, started over. She told me one night over coffee, if you hadn't spoken up, I probably never would have. You gave me the courage. That hit me harder than I expected. For years I thought keeping quiet was the strong thing to do. Turns out speaking up was what actually made a difference. Months crawled by, interviews, hearings, continuances, the usual courtroom circus. It felt like forever, but eventually the gavel dropped. Shane eventually got sentenced, not some life-altering term, but enough to knock the crown off his head. Enough to put a criminal record next to his name forever. He wasn't walking back into Dad's company like nothing happened. He wasn't the Golden Boy anymore. He was just another guy who finally got caught. Mom still sends me emails about forgiveness. Dad still pretends I don't exist when we cross paths in town. Honestly, I don't care. I stopped chasing their approval a long time ago. Because here's the truth. I didn't ruin the family. I exposed what was already broken. And now that Shane's throne is gone, maybe the rest of them will finally see how much rot they built it on. As for me, my ribs healed, my conscience is clear, and for the first time in my life, I'm not the shadow standing behind my brother. I'm the one who finally stepped into the light,